Hi kids! Today I am going to show you an alternative method for how you can make your sketchbook working from your plan. So if you remember, in class last week, we created a plan for what we wanted our ideal sketchbook to look like. Now, if you don't have all of the materials necessary for your ideal sketchbook, that's totally okay. I'm going to show you how you probably have those materials, you just might have overlooked them. So what you are going to need is some paper. I have my stack of paper right here. You are going to need some type of cover, so that can be a heavier weight construction paper, that can be a cereal box, it can be a package that maybe you got from a delivery. Realistically, any resources that you have are probably going to work for this activity. You also want to think about what you want your cover to look like, and this can be done similar to what was shown in our first video demonstration of how to put together a sketchbook. I'm going to show you a different method, and there really is no right or wrong way to put together the sketchbook. The main, most important thing you must remember is that a sketchbook is just a place for you to sketch. So even if you have folded up pieces of paper with a cover that's very simple, that's okay. You just need a place to keep all your sketches, to practice what techniques we're using, and realistically to get your ideas down on paper. So if you have a way of doing that, then your sketchbook is going to function as it should. So, like I said in a couple of other demonstrations, you do not have to have the fanciest sketchbook in order to be the best artist. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we have our ideal list, and we've thought about what size we want our sketchbook to be, the type of paper that we want to use, what we want the cover to look like, whether it's going to be decorated or not, what we want the seam to look like. All of you lefties out there, you're really going to have to think about what you want your seam to look like, how your book is going to bend, so that you can make the best use of your sketchbook for the way that you write. We're also going to think about how you want your pages to be connected and any other details. So we've gone through that entire process. We've come up with a little sketch, and now we're going to talk about the research behind this. So if you look at my piece of paper here with all of my pink pen markings, you'll notice that I have made a list from our research of the materials that I need, my wants of what I want to have in my sketchbook, and my must-haves, what's required in my sketchbook. So I'm going to zoom in on this really quick for you to see. For the materials that I need, I just simply need to think about what materials I have, what materials I want, and how I'm going to basically resource these materials. How am I going to get these materials that I need? So I know that I need a cover because that is one of my requirements. So I know that I need that. I need a minimum of 40 pages, and realistically 40 pages is 20 pages folded in half. That'll give you a good amount because you want enough pages to get you through the semester. Now I am going to show you later on how to add to your sketchbook if you need to. You also have to think about how you want this bound. So the pages must be secure. You don't want your pages falling out of your book. And then you have to attach your cover to your book so that it's bound and it stays together. So in knowing that, I'm going to use my cover from a packaged box that I got, and I'm going to use a shopping bag to cover mine. Now you don't have to do this. If you like the pattern that's on the box, you can leave it. But for me, I don't like the way the shipping box looks, so I'm going to cover it. I also know that I need some glue because I need everything to stay stuck together. I also need some binder clips for how I'm going to glue my seam. I'm going to use a needle and thread for mine, but I'm going to use a different technique for that. And I'm going to find my ribbon that I already have for my bookmarks and a decorative inside piece of paper. So some of these materials that I need, you won't need because you have to look at the must-haves first and see. You might be able to meet these must-have requirements without all of these. Now I know that I want my sketchbook to be very decorative, which is why I'm adding extras to mine. In the column of wants, this is where all of my extra decorative parts came from. I know that I want at least 50 pages, maybe more. I want a bookmark, multiple of them. I know I want a tie closure, and I want my edges to be rounded, so I don't want a square edge like I had before. So I am working directly from this sketch plan right here and my wants and the materials. Okay, so let's get into this. I am going to show you how to fold your paper. Now, it's very important how you fold your paper because it's going to have a big impact on what your sketchbook looks like and how it functions. You are not going to take your stack of papers like this and just fold them over. Don't do that, because what happens is these papers are no longer even, and that's not what you want. It's very hard to get an even fold if you fold multiple papers at once. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to count my pages. So I know that I want at least 50 pages, so I'm going to count out 25 pieces. Just 5. 10. 15. 20. 25. Now I was being extra careful because these papers are sticking together, and so I really want to make sure that I don't have an odd number and that these are not sticking together. Perfect. Now if I want to add more papers later on, I could definitely do that. So starting with my first piece of paper, I'm going to need something to really flatten out my edge. Now you can use the side of a pencil, so something like this. You can even use the end of a pair of scissors, so this right here. If you have a marker, you can use the tip of the marker, the cap. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can get a really nice straight edge on your pieces of paper. So I'm going to start with my first paper. And I'm going to use the grid lines here of my cutting mat to make sure that my papers are all even. So I'm going to line this up here. And I like to kind of fold it to where it meets my fingers, making sure that the corners are nice and even. I fold from the middle, and while I still have this other side pinched, I go down and up. Now right now the fold is kind of thick. You can see right here that it's not super, super thin. So I've still got a little bit of area where it stands up. Now I want this piece of paper to lay as flat as possible. So I need to fix this edge right here so that it's nice and clean. In order to do that, I need to use something that has a hard plastic that can be kind of run across the edge so that it really flattens out that edge for me. Because grabbing it with your fingers is okay, but it might possibly rip. So you do want to be careful when you do this. I'm going to take the edge of my marker right here, and I'm just going to very lightly press across my seam. And now I have a really nice clean seam. It almost looks like one piece of paper, or excuse me, a half piece of paper, like I cut it in half. So you'll notice there that that edge is very different than if I was just to leave it. And I'm going to show you a comparison. So I'm going to line my edges up, make sure they're nice and even. And so this time, well, this step will actually take you a little bit of time, and that's okay. But if you look at the difference between the two of these, if you take the time to really fold them, you'll see. This is what you want right here, this nice, clean, straight edge. We don't want an edge that kind of bows, and that's what that one's really doing right there. And you can see, it's really bowing out. It's not nearly as sharp as this edge. We want a nice, sharp edge. And I'm just going to continue folding my papers and making them nice and even, and really setting these up nicely. So this is the step for how to fold your paper. And next I'm going to show you how to bind your book once all of your papers are complete, like that.